there, my name is Kristen Dara and I'm a Product and Performance Lead from Google New Zealand.
Hi, and my name is Alex. I'm a Strategic Partner Manager working at our Google Australia office.
Today, we'll both be discussing with you how to design a winning shopping ad strategy with 5 key steps to smart shopping success. Before you design your winning shopping strategy, there are 3 key guidelines to keep in mind. Firstly, avoid over-segmentation. Creating many separate campaigns is more likely to undermine performance by feeding less data to the machine. Only segment your smart shopping ads into multiple campaigns when your business goals really require it. Because bigger is better. A rule of thumb is to avoid creating campaigns that contain products that would achieve less than 20 transactions in a 2-week period. The more transactions a campaign has to learn from, the better. With that said, small product groups can still perform well, assuming that they could achieve 100 plus transactions in a monthly window. Lastly, invest for success. Ensure you allocate enough budget to each of your campaigns to win the auction against your competitors. Reminder that you are paying on a conversion-based model, meaning you only pay if your consumers are buying from you. Selz has put minimum thresholds in place to ensure you are at least spending the minimum required. But if you are not seeing results after the first month, ask yourself, are you spending enough to warrant impact? Now it is time to align on your business goals to ensure that these tie into your ad structure. Many of you will already know what you want to achieve from your shopping ads campaigns, but restating these goals is a good way to take a step back and ensure that your campaign strategy actually aligns to these. There are 3 ways you can align your business goals to your smart shopping campaign. Firstly, ask yourself, do your products have hugely different sales targets or profitability goals? If not, we recommend combining as many products as possible into a single campaign. This is a good way to efficiently drive sales, maximize conversion volume, and simplify your campaign management. Secondly, do you have hero products or new releases you'd like to promote above the rest? If so, you can ensure visibility for these higher priority products by segmenting these out. We would recommend allocating budget specifically to these products to ensure that they receive the traffic and the visibility that they deserve. Lastly, if you have a large variation in your profitability targets for specific product groups, for example, you may have a separate margin targets for your lounge suites versus your table lamps. In this case, we recommend segmenting your smart shopping campaigns by product category. Creating a separate campaign for an important category like your lounge suites will guarantee that a certain portion of your total budget is allocated towards what will drive the highest return for your business. This all leads to step 3, where you can combine steps 1 and 2 to design your winning strategy. You can see how 3 separate advertisers have decided to set up their smart shopping ads based on their business goals. Advertiser 1 has recognized that their main goal is to drive maximum volume of conversions, regardless of what product sells, as they have fairly similar profit margins. Because of this, they've created one campaign for all products to allow the machine to generate maximum transactions within the total shopping budget available. Advertiser 2 needs to allocate more budget to their new release products to promote awareness and to drive immediate sales from new stock. Alongside this, they also have a catalog of high-margin products that make up most of their business sales. They have chosen to split these 2 out to ensure that they can allocate the majority of their budget in these 2 areas. In addition, they have created a campaign for everything else to drive sales across their full business with the remainder of their budget. Advertiser 3 has recognized that their product categories have drastically different profit margins. To be sustainable with their advertising spend, they have broken these out into 5 smart shopping campaigns, 1 for each product category. But before launching their smart shopping campaigns, they confirmed that each category above generated a sufficient conversion volume to be segmented out separately. Now that you've designed and implemented your winning shopping strategy, Alex will talk you through what to expect next.
Thank you, Kristen. Now let's look at the timelines and learning periods. Smart shopping campaigns can take at least 2 weeks to ramp up. During this time, conversion and spend volume may be low. However, please know that after 2 weeks, we typically see that volumes ramp up. It is important not to make any changes to the campaign settings or campaign structure at the beginning. Wait a few extra days for users who saw the ads during days 15 to 28 to convert. Ideally, do not make any changes. Also, conversion lag, which refers to the delay between when people clicked on an ad and when they made a purchase, will vary for different types of products. After a month since the campaign launched, it's time to review the results and evaluate the performance. When looking at performance, be sure to compare the number of sales driven by Google Ads from the business as usual period to a 2 weeks period before you launched the campaign. Evaluate the number of sales and their value driven by Google Ads together with the advertising budget you've invested. That should give you a good idea what's the return on investment you're getting from your shopping campaigns. Last but not least, let's look at the do's and don'ts when creating your smart shopping campaign. Here's what we would recommend. Number 1, design your long-term campaign structure before you start. Number 2, respect the learning period. While testing smart shopping campaigns requires some patience, the strong results mean it is worth the wait. 3, focus on total conversion volume on return on ad investment generated from your campaigns. And here's what we would recommend not to do. Don't start and stop your campaigns by altering your campaign structure often. Don't compare performance from the learning period to performance before the test started. As mentioned before, new campaigns can take up to 2 weeks to stabilize, particularly campaigns with relatively low conversion volume. Lastly, don't focus on clicks, impressions, or cost per acquisition. Smart shopping campaigns optimize towards real business outcomes, such as sales, revenue, or ROI, rather than clicks. We hope this was helpful. Now over to Thomas with Selz.
Thanks, Alex. So, it's been a few weeks since you launched your shopping campaign with Selz, and you're wondering how to determine whether it's been successful. Well, the first thing to remember is that you don't want to make changes to your campaign within the first 4 weeks. You're going to want to give yourself at least a 15-day post-learning period. Don't jump the gun. It's tempting right after the launch of your campaign to get worried about lack of sales or conversions and go in and shift and change your shopping campaign. Remember though, you're only going to be able to make intelligent changes if you have data to start with. You can't move from a position of misinformation. So, let your first campaign finish with the parameters that you set for it, and then come back for a reassessment. Once you've gotten the results of your campaign back, it's time to dive into those sales and conversions. You can use Google Analytics or Selz's built-in store analytics tools to see what your site visits and conversions were like during the period of your campaign. What worked? What didn't? And how do you know? The answer is to test different groups of products, as well as doing smart comparisons. Once you've run your first campaign, set up and run another, this time with more segmentation. In fact, we recommend creating categories right out of the gate. This might result in fewer page views, but could ultimately result in a more targeted and focused marketing that gives you more sales. Finally, compare the campaigns you've run and try to look for patterns. See what worked well and what didn't. If your campaign to sell a specific product didn't work as well as you'd hoped, analyze that product's store page and consider running promotions or optimizing the site for mobile. Check and see what your budget was and if you set it appropriately for what you're trying to accomplish. Finally, it's important to know what your expectations on your return on advertising spending are, ROAS. This will give you a benchmark for what your advertising campaign needs to accomplish to be considered successful. Managing an online storefront gives you access to a wealth of data, and not all of it necessarily leads to easy decision making. Make sure you're comparing the right things and be patient. A successful ad campaign takes time. We hope that this webinar series has been helpful, and you can look forward to more content from Selz in the future. Happy selling!